Are you ready to uncover the terrifying truth about a 200-year-old haunted house? Join us as we explore the dark history and eerie occurrences that have plagued this residence for centuries. But beware, what you're about to see may shock and disturb you. You have arrived at the 200-year-old house with a dark and disturbing past that will haunt you forever. The awful events that occurred in a haunted mansion that has stood for hundreds of years are recounted in this story. All who have lived in or interacted with the house have been profoundly affected by its history of murder, mystery, and eerie occurrences. This story will take you on a tour of the house's past, from its construction to the present day, and will expose the horrors and mysteries that have been hidden there. Whether or not you believe in the supernatural, this novel will make you doubt the very existence of ghosts. The house, built in the early 1800s, has a long and disturbing history. Many claim to have experienced ghostly apparitions, strange noises, and even physical attacks by unseen entities. The previous owners have reported furniture moving on its own, doors slamming shut, and even being pushed down the stairs. The house was also the site of a tragic murder-suicide in the early 1900s, adding to the already eerie atmosphere. Despite the house's unsettling past, it still stands today, a haunting reminder of the terror that once occurred within its walls. But the true terror of this house lies not in its ghostly inhabitants, but in its past. Research has uncovered that the house was built on an ancient Native American burial ground. The spirits of the buried tribe are said to still haunt the house, angered by the desecration of their sacred land. Many locals have reported seeing ghostly apparitions of Native Americans dressed in traditional garments, wandering the property. It is believed that the house's dark energy is a result of the spirit's anger and pain. Charles Williams, a successful merchant, commissioned the construction of this home in the early 1800s. Because of his status as a wealthy and well-liked member of the neighborhood, he planned to construct a mansion worthy of his family. Once construction on their new home was finished in 1820, the Williams family moved in. They were overjoyed with their new house and couldn't wait to settle in. However, almost from the start, weird and disturbing occurrences started taking place in the home. Ghostly apparitions would float through the rooms at night, random objects would reposition themselves, and unexplainable noises would echo down the corridors. The Williams was frightened but unsure of what to do or who to call for assistance. They were worried that if they spoke up about the weird happenings, people would think they were crazy. There was no way out of the house while they were being terrorized by the ghosts. The Williamses did their best to ignore the increasingly bizarre occurrences that plagued their new house. They were too anxious to relax or settle into a restful sleep. They began to realize that their daughter, Elizabeth, was the target of the ghostly apparition's attention. She was only a young girl at the time, yet she was the one who felt the most of the eerie happenings. In the middle of the night, she'd scream and be drenched in sweat, claiming that ghosts had entered her chamber. The family tried to reassure her that she was just overreacting, but they all sensed that something was very wrong with their new house. After a long day at the office, Charles Williams arrived home late that evening to discover that his wife and daughter had vanished. He looked all over the home desperately, but he couldn't find them. He contacted law enforcement, and a manhunt was launched for the missing relatives. Both Charles's wife and daughter were discovered dead the following day in the home's basement. They were mercilessly killed. Charles, who was inconsolable, blamed the ghosts in the home for his parents' and sister's deaths. But the cops were doubtful and suspected Charles of murder. He was taken into custody and tried, but the prosecution failed to produce sufficient evidence to get a conviction. Though Charles was eventually liberated, he was a shattered man. He finally gave up on the house and sold it because he just couldn't stand being there anymore. A new family, the Smiths, bought the house without knowing its shady history. They were eager to begin their new lives in the grand old house, but they soon learned that it had several flaws. Strange occurrences repeated themselves, this time affecting the Smith family as well as the Williams. They reported hearing unexplainable sounds at night and seeing ghostly figures throughout the building. They panicked and had no idea what to do. They attempted denial, but success eluded them. They were stuck in a scary mansion with no way out. The Smiths have taken the initiative to look into the eerie occurrences at home. In an effort to discover the origin of the eerie goings-on, they called in a paranormal investigator. According to the investigation, the house was constructed on top of a cemetery, and the souls of the deceased there are displeased that it was erected. He also learned that the Williams family had been slain and that their ghosts were still yearning for closure. While the investigator failed to dispel the ghosts, he did learn more about the property's past and the mysteries it held. Following the research, it became clear that there were other mysteries connected to the home that had yet to be resolved. The Williams family murders were just one of many such incidents. Disappearances of people with ties to the house surfaced, and so did whispers of satanic rites having taken place there. Even though he was unable to provide any conclusive evidence, the investigator was certain that there was more to the house than initially appeared. The investigator uncovered the widespread belief that the house was cursed as well. Many persons who had lived there or been connected to it had died under mysterious circumstances. The investigator found compelling evidence that the curse was real and was to blame for the paranormal happenings in the home. He suggested they move out, but the Smiths were too attached to their ideal home to consider leaving. It got to be too much for the Smith family, so they had to leave the residence. After each sale, the new owners discovered the house was haunted and would not allow their own families to live there. Due to its long period of abandonment, this home has gained a reputation as one of America's scariest haunting sites. Paranormal activity in the home persists even today. People who have visited the residence have claimed hearing ghostly voices, seeing apparitions, and experiencing an overall unsettling vibe. Several people have reported that they were physically assaulted by the house's ghosts. A home is, since its reputation as a hotspot for paranormal phenomena spread, visitors have come from all over the world to see for themselves. There have been numerous attempts to get rid of the ghosts that inhabit the mansion. Various religious leaders have blessed the home and performed exorcisms there. However, the paranormal activity in the house continues despite the best efforts of the residents. Some claim that no amount of exorcism or blessing can rid the dwelling of the evil spirits who reside there. The house and the paranormal activity within it have been the subject of numerous speculations. According to some, the mansion was constructed on cursed ground, and now the souls of the dead are out for vengeance. Some say the Williams family was murdered there, and their ghosts still roam the mansion looking for vengeance. Some go so far as to say the spirits inhabiting the house are also from another world, and that the house itself is a portal to that world. People visit the 200-year-old property with a terrifying history despite its reputation as a haunting hotspot. Other visitors come for the thrill of visiting a haunted house, while others come to examine the paranormal activity. However, anyone visiting the mansion should exercise caution because the spirits residing there are rumored to be hostile and unpredictable. We don't know what will happen to the house in the future. In the opinion of some, it should be demolished since it is a breeding ground for evil and risk. Some people think it should be kept since it's a fascinating historical artifact, but others disagree. But there is one thing that can be said with certainty: the mansion will always scare and haunt those who go too close to its sinister history. The house, with its troubled history, still has lessons to teach us. It serves as a cautionary tale, warning us to think carefully about the consequences of our decisions and actions lest we repeat the mistakes of the past. The possibility of the paranormal and the supernatural is also brought to light, serving as a reminder that there is more to life than what meets the eye. Those who venture too close to the 200-year-old house's horrific past will continue to be haunted and terrified. But it also has important lessons for us, such as the perils of denying the past and the value of being receptive to the mystical and otherworldly. In light of this, while you read this book, keep in mind the lessons of the home and tread carefully in your own decisions and deeds. The past has a way of catching up with us all. The 200-year-old mansion, steeped in mystery and horror, has become a famous tourist attraction throughout the years. Tourists traveled from all over the world to see the house and feel the chills of a real haunting, while also learning about the building's shady history. The home was a huge hit, but it didn't stop it from maintaining its haunting vibe. It was told that the ghosts still inhabited the house and that visitors should exercise caution. People think the house's departed occupants are still trying to right the wrongs done to them. Some people thought the ghosts carried grudges against the living. Whatever their motivation, the house's ghosts never stopped frightening those who dared to get too near to the property's murky history. Many paranormal studies and investigations were conducted on the property over the years, but the origins of the hauntings and the ghosts who reside there remain a mystery. But one thing is certain: the dark and terrible history of the 200-year-old home will continue to captivate and frighten visitors for generations to come. To confront and learn from the darkest parts of our history is a reminder of the past's power to impact the present and the future. It's rich in history and haunted by ghosts, so you should pay your respects and be respectful of the locals if you ever visit. This brings us to a close. As we leave this haunted house, we are left with the chilling realization that the true terror of this residence lies not in its ghostly inhabitants, but in its past. The desecration of sacred land and the tragedy that has occurred within these walls serve as a haunting reminder of the consequences of our actions. This is the terrifying truth about this 200-year-old haunted house.